Green greetings to all the viewers who are watching this podcast with us. So today we have a very special guest, and to just give you a little bit of background, we were trying to get Sir on board for over a month, and because Sir was a little occupied, finally he is here with us. So I would really like to welcome Mr. Ashwini Saxena, who's the CEO of Jindal Steel Foundation. So I think the experience that he'll be sharing with us will be truly tremendous, and all of us will get to learn a lot of things from him. So without further ado, sir, we start with a 30-second superhero introduction. So you just have to introduce who Mr. Ashwini Saxena is in 30 seconds. So the stage is all yours.
So my name is Ashwini Saxena, and I am the CEO of JSW Foundation, which is involved in social development work on behalf of JSW Group across 14 states of the country.
Wonderful. So talking about Growdiesel, at Growdiesel, we are fighting climate change by converting waste into biofuel. Till date, we have converted more than 250,000 metric tons of waste into biofuel and green energy. So this is what we do. Throwing the spotlight back at you, sir. What is that one crazy story from your school or college time that you are super proud of?
Story from my school time? Difficult question, I must say. But yes, I think the inquisitiveness of a child has always stayed with me. And I think, I don't know, I mean, how do I answer that one crazy thing? But yes, that inquisitiveness is still very much there, which keeps on prodding me to ask questions, why, how. I think that what motivates me to continue to explore.
So during your college time, if I have to ask, so what were you doing in that point of time? Like, what did you study, and what were the subjects that were very exciting for you?
Okay. So for me, geology was my key subject. I did my master's in geology. Earth and its systems, its processes, the rocks, the colorful range of minerals. That was very exciting for me. And chemistry, of course, always excited me a lot. So yeah, chemistry and geology, these were two of my favorite subjects during my college days.
Okay. So apart from the classroom studies, what were the co-curriculars that you were involved in?
So I was a lot of into music. Photography was my passion, is a passion. Music has been my passion. And I think reading came natural to me because I come from a family where, there were teachers and professors around. So a lot of reading, I would say, both literature as well as fictional, non-fictional, uh, lots of varied kind of literatures that I've been able to read, go through. Still stock a lot of books in my home. So reading also has been a keen passion. Reading of all kinds of things that I can lay my hands upon.
Okay.
So reading, music, and photography.
Reading, music, and photography. In fact, sir, you resonate a lot with my father because the exact three things he was into, all of them. So specifically, I'm very curious about the photography part. So what motivated you to pursue photography? And probably we are talking 20 years back in the time. So at that time, how did you put your hands on the camera, and how did photography came into your life?
Nature has always excited me. Nature has always excited me, and capturing what you see with your eyes, sometimes it's not possible for a camera. I mean, eyes are the best camera that God has invented. But then again, you still have to, make do with whatever you can capture. So despite your vivid memory of your childhood, it's always good to have a photograph with you, which can remind you of that moment. So I think that's why I picked on photography. It started with a small little point and shoot camera. I think composition and light and shade are the two important factors when you're pursuing photography. And then later on, of course, SLRs and all those things came in life.
Indeed, indeed. And I think photography as an art, if we dig deep, it is such a beautiful form of art because It is the only form of art which can capture a particular moment, and even if that moment is gone, that photograph will stay forever. So I think that is indeed one of the great art passions that you picked for yourself. Coming to my next question, sir, what motivated you to do what you're doing right now?
See, I began as a geologist. My career started off as a geologist. Then I moved into industrial development and social development space. And I think the pursuit of mankind's development has been, kind of close to me. Uh, Even as a geologist, when I started working in rural areas, how rural people are being able to, mitigate their day-to-day challenges, how they are managing their lives, how are they trying to, make the two ends meet. I mean, these things always intrigued and helped, kind of, guided me towards that. And so I think one thing led to the other, and finally I landed up here in JSW doing this work. So can't say that I decided when I was a child that one fine day I would become the CEO of JSW Foundation. I didn't even know the name of the organization, to be honest. But I think one thing led to the other, and I couldn't let go of my core, which was around human pursuit, human enterprise, and development per se, which was there with me. So I think, yeah, that's how I moved into this space. And it's a very exciting and satisfying space to be, because you can do so much of good work uh, by doing good things with the communities that you are around with.
Correct. Correct.
So I think that's a great blessing to, be in a profession like this.
Indeed. So were you always associated with the social development sector, or you started with some other, let's say, corporate, and then probably you transitioned into the social development sector?
So as I started with the government, then I moved into non-government space. Then I moved into multilateral space. I was with UNIDO and the World Bank Group. And I think all these learning experiences kind of shaped me as a professional. And those learnings are coming to be of good use today also. So I think that's been the journey. Started off as a natural scientist, but ended up as a development professional. And I think all these things, all these themes are interconnected in a sense.
Indeed, they are. Sir, you mentioned that you started working in the government sector. So, were you employed with the government, or were you working in some different capacity?
I was employed with the government. I have continued with the government for 8 years.
8 years. And sir, in India, we talk about specifically like people are crazy after the government jobs. So what was the triggering point that you decided to quit the government sector and you joined the private sector? Like, what was that transitioning point?
It was not a direct foray into private sector. As I said, this was a natural progression. I was working with the government, and then I realized that there was a quasi-government organization which had got a lot more opportunity to do good work. So I moved from the government to that organization. From there, one fine day, while doing, working as a trainee with UNIDO, they offered me to come and work with them. So I joined UNIDO, and then I went to World Bank Group at a later stage. So as I said, it was like a follow through of what you did in the past, what you learned, and then it moved on. So it's the excitement of good work that which kind of propels you into directions that you want to take, and that kind of then shapes you as a professional.
Indeed, it does. In fact, I would really like to highlight one particular point from your story, and I would really like to put the emphasis to all the viewers who will be watching this. So, sir was working in a government sector, and in India, we know that how valuable that is. But sir mentioned that he identified certain opportunities. Those opportunities were better in the private sector. And once he identified that, he left that comfort zone of a government job, and then he transitioned into a private job. And I feel that is a very important lesson for all of us, that how we should be very open-minded. So let's say that you have achieved the basic necessities for all of you, and you are in your comfort zone. But whenever you if you are open minded about the right opportunities and you are able to identify the right opportunities, you should be ready for the transition. I'm pretty sure, sir, when you were transiting from government to the private sector, there must be a certain set of backlash from your family. Was there any backlash at that point?
This question I've answered a number of times. I've been very, very fortunate that my family, right from my parents to my wife, my in-laws, everybody was very, very supportive. I
Oh,
think
that's amazing.
I think I'm blessed in that sense, where they said, whatever makes you happy, whatever makes you excited, please go and do that.
That's amazing.
That's the support that I've received right from my childhood. Taking decisions for anything and everything that I wanted to do, what subject to choose, which college to go, what friends to make, what not to do. I think decisions have been mine, and I fully appreciate the independence I got from my parents and even from my wife. The support that I required.
Mhm.
So whatever I've been able to achieve as a person or as a professional, I think a lot of credit goes to them,
That's amazing.
enabling me to do that.
That's amazing. That's indeed very beautiful, because when you have the support of the people who love you, I think that is what you need the most when you're taking a very difficult decision in your life.
Yeah, and they go through a lot of challenges. I've traveled so much. I've changed locations so frequently.
Mhm.
The brunt has to be faced by your family. They have
Correct.
to pack and unpack quite often. Children have to change schools quite often. But then at the end of the day, the family is happy because you are happy. So
Correct.
pursuing your personal happiness in conjunction with the happiness of the family, I think that's the key.
Correct. Indeed, sir. Indeed, you're absolutely right about it. So coming to my next question, sir, what is the biggest problem that you have solved and how did you do that? It could be personal, it could be professional, it could be related to your some of your initiatives, anything.
I would not like to take a claim that I have solved one of the biggest problems, but yes, I have contributed to a whole range of things in my life, and that makes me proud. What makes me feel satisfied is that I've been very objective and very, I would say, directed in my approach, in the sense that not getting driven by any personal agenda or any personal likes and dislikes. uh, Looking at very dispassionately what is important for the organization, what is important for its important stakeholders, its constituents. That's where I've focused. So I think that approach is something which I have practiced over the years. And I have been even sometimes unpleasant with people. I have not been very popular sometimes with my colleagues for taking certain decisions which I believed, at least to the best of my capabilities, were the right decisions for the organizations. And I've stuck to them regardless of whether somebody likes or dislikes, because personal likes and dislikes do not matter in the long run for the betterment of the organization. I think that's what I am, to some extent, I would say, fairly satisfied with. Uh, I don't still see that there is much to be proud of. I'm not the only one who has contributed to the process. So there are a large number of people who have done that. But together as a team, together as an organization, we've done so much, which of course makes you feel satisfied.
Indeed, sir. And I completely understand you're being very humble about it. Still, if you have to, pick out one thing in your life, and you could say that this was a particular problem, and this is what I solved. So it will give the audience the intensity that if they get stuck in some problem, irrespective of the intensity, how they get out of it after listening to you. So any story that you would like to share?
So, very two quick instances. There are lots of such instances,
Yeah,
which I can remember,
sure.
but I'm sure it would be not appropriate with the time limit. Uh, in one particular case, I will not name the organization. They started off a program, and the program was, in a sense, I would say, a bit directionless, if I may put it like that. There was no thought as to where it is going to culminate and how should it be looking at the time of exit. And I kind of took over the program in the middle of it. The results that were expected were not there, uh, to the requirements. And what I kind of did was that with the same set of people, with the same set of institutions involved, uh, turned them around to deliver on the program, and we together as a team, along with the other set of stakeholders, including the government, we came together with a process through which we could create an institution out of that program.
Wow.
So what I'm really satisfied is that I could create an institution. That institution serves the communities that organization, client organization, even today after so many years. And it continues to provide services because we created an institution, we created a framework for that, we got the resources for it, and a whole planning was done in such a, I would say in a consultative manner, and giving them the larger picture, giving them that vision that how this institution would be useful. And of all the various programs globally that were done, this was the only program which got turned into a full-fledged institution. So institutionalization of your efforts is something which is very important.
Correct.
So this is one thing which comes to my mind.
Wow.
And the second one which really excites me is my work which I did long back with a set of women weavers in Rajasthan, organizing them, bringing them together, giving them that vision as to how to create an institution of themselves. Almost 20 years from now, that institution that was created still functions, still serves its members.
Wow.
It still does a lot more things which were initially planned, and they've done much more than what could have been planned at that point of time. So 20 years and the organization is still functional, and the credit goes to the people who kind of have been nurturing that organization despite their misgivings, their internal strife, whatever, but they still chug on, they still move on as an institution. They still bound it together with the vision and the mission of that organization. So to me, that is a big satisfaction, that once you've ignited the fire has been stored by people with their own passion and their hard work, and that fire is still on.
Correct, indeed. And I think that were two quite inspiring and a very intense stories that you shared. And if I specifically pick out the first story that you mentioned about the organization's project that was initially directionless, and then when you pitched in and a certain set of shape was given, and then it transformed into something really big. So if I have to ask you your three major learnings from the entire entire story of this particular story, so what do you think are those three major learnings that you personally learned from this particular initiative that you shaped?
First one is that whenever you are beginning, you should have the end in your mind. You should visualize it. The second one is that once you visualized it, and you visualized it dispassionately, it does not have you in that picture, because that's very important for sustenance point of view.
Correct.
In both the stories that I said, I'm nowhere, I'm not there, and I don't need to be also recognized for that. The fact is that I'm there, but I'm not there. So planning the initiation with the exit in mind, I think that's the first and foremost important thing. Second is, once you have envisioned something, it's important to share that vision and bring people together, because at the end of the day, it's people who are going to run it. It's the people. You are not perpetual, you are not going to be there for all perpetuity. So it's important for people to kind of co-own that vision. And then the third thing, which is very important, is to handhold them to the possible extent in the entire process, without having your own personal agenda. I think that's to me the key. Letting them achieve that vision so that they believe that it is their vision, they are doing for it, and they are achieving it.
Correct. And the third one?
And third, I would say garnering resources for them. I mean, whatever they are doing, you have to figure out what kind of resources are required for what you want to achieve.
Correct.
And therefore, then you have to get all kinds of financial or non-financial resources, because then only that story would be complete. That would be complete.
Very true, sir. And in fact, let me first sum up the three learnings which sir mentioned. So number one is very important: begin with the end in your mind, because if you have a clear direction that so as to where you have to go, then you will be able to in a better position to take the right steps towards that. Second is align other people with your vision and focus on collective working, because like sir mentioned that without people you cannot go as far as you would like to go. And the third is garnering the resources, whether the financial or the non-financial. Once everything is set, once the people are ready to work, just focus on giving them the right set of resources so that they can work towards that common vision that all of you have. And I feel these are the three most important lessons that should be incorporated by anyone who's trying to execute anything. Kudos to you, sir. I think the rich experience that came out from these stories is truly commendable. Coming to my next question, sir, who is that one character, or there could be multiple characters in your above stories you would like to thank? These should be non-family members.
So many of them. So many of them, I would say.
Sure.
The list would be endless. Uh, I would say the people who drove the whole process with me. I think they should be they are the real heroes. As I said, igniting a small little fire is no big deal.
Mm-hmm.
Keeping that fire alive and taking it through for so many years, I think they are the ones I'm indebted to. I'm being able to say this to you today because they have continued that effort today.
Correct.
Had it died out, I would not have been able to share this story with you.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, the sustenance of the whole thing, I think it goes to them.
Indeed, sir. Coming to the next question, sir. What do you think is the most innovative project that you have done? Something that you can very much brag about, your organization brags about.
Many ideas which have come from people. I'll have to give it a thought. I mean, which one to choose. But I think the work that we are doing in the space of water and environment, that's very close to my heart. Being a geologist and coming from a place like Rajasthan, water is a very important subject for me in that sense. I think the way we've been able to, in our foundation, we've been able to, look at water as a very integrated subject and very innovatively, circling it around with a whole range of initiatives related to solid waste management, related to water resource mapping. I think that's something very unique that we've been able to do as a foundation. And it all started from one small little location, and then we kind of did it across the entire country where we are working, following a very data-driven approach, making sure that we have the right kind of information available with us, bringing the community together with us, and looking at not anything in a silo, looking at the overall comprehensive picture. I think that's something which is very innovative, I would say, because most organizations have focused on only one or the two aspects of water as a subject, but we've been able to look at it in a very comprehensive and a holistic way. And we've looked at all the interlinkages related to solid waste, related to water resource management, drinking water, cleaning of ponds, desilting of dams, a whole range of things. And then only looking at, saying that, okay, yes, this is something that we've been able to do in water space.
Very fascinating. In fact, I feel that when we talk about water specifically, a lot of times people living in the tier 1 cities and tier 2 cities, they do not understand the intensity of how valuable water is. Like people living in the cities, they take it for granted. They are wasting the water. They are not caring because for them it is just coming and it will keep on coming. But people, like you mentioned, that geographies where every drop counts. So for doing something for these people, doing something in these geographies, I can really understand the kind of intensity your organization and specifically you have put your efforts in developing those things. So I think kudos to you for choosing such an important topic to work on. Thank you so much on behalf of all those people. So coming to the next section, and that is a little fun section, and it is an impromptu section. Okay, so where I'll be giving you two options and you have to quickly choose one without thinking. Okay, are we good to go?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so tea or coffee?
Tea.
Books or documentaries?
Books.
Sunrise or sunset?
Sunrise.
Money or power?
None.
Street smarts or book smarts?
Work smart.
Okay. Summers or winters?
Summers.
Okay. Mountains or beaches?
Mountains.
Would you like to travel in the past and change something, or would you like to travel in the future and change your present?
Future.
Okay, I see. Last question for this round. How would you like strangers to remember you once you are gone?
Why should they remember me?
Sorry?
I said, why should they remember me?
How would you like strangers to remember you through your effort?
Why should they remember me? Many more people will come to this world and they would be perhaps better than me. So why should I be remembered?
Still, maybe some of your initiatives might have created some impact in their lives, and
initiatives are important. This world is important. People are not important.
Very, very rightly said, sir. So coming to the last section of this podcast, and that is the climate action section, because we truly at Growdiesel, from the core of our hearts, we believe that climate is one thing that really needs to be given a lot of thought to. And we as an organization are also working in this sector where we are decarbonizing industries, urban areas, and we are converting all kinds of waste into biofuel and green energy. So if I ask you, and if I direct to you, what do you think are some of the interesting climate initiatives that you are aware about? Maybe they might be going in some part of the world or some part of the country, and you know about those initiatives, and they're really, really fascinating initiatives.
So you see, climate change as an issue is kind of being faced by all of us. And this was a warning which was there, and we kind of continued to, neglect and overlook it. But there have been people who have, I would say, crusaders who have been working in this space for several years, very unassumingly, very quietly. The Thimakkas of this world or Jadapaying of this world, who've single-handedly done a lot of work. They've created. So to me, these environmental crusaders seem to be very fascinating. There's a whole lot of work that we as an organization have also been doing over the years. Looking at mangrove restoration work across the various locations where we are. Water, as I mentioned, in an integrated manner. For last 10 iterations, we've been also looking at how we can recognize the work being done by various organizations through our Earthcare Awards. And where we recognize the efforts by community people, by local small little NGOs, by big corporates, by medium scale country organizations, by people who have done some innovations in the space of climate change. So I think recognizing and learning from those initiatives, I think, is also very important. We've recently embarked on a very interesting project, which I'm quite excited about. We are supporting the India Climate Collaborative. It's again a collaborative platform created by some of us corporates coming together. And with that platform, we are now, as JSW Foundation, coordinating another solutions marketplace or solutions platform. We call it as Climate Solutions Marketplace or Climate Solutions Platform. We are naming it as Earth Exponential. And the idea is
Exponential. I'm sorry.
Earth Exponential.
Oh, wow.
And the idea is to bring in the research, the knowledge, the innovators on one side, the implementers, the grassroots level NGOs on the other side, and all kind of people and institutions like us who can possibly contribute financially and non-financially to such initiatives on the same platform, because a whole lot of things are being done knowingly or unknowingly in the name of climate change, but people do not know what to do and how to do it, what is scalable, what is replicable, under what context it is replicable, and can we put all this knowledge together under one platform and make it, I would say, a very vibrant community for people to learn from each other, collaborate, and maybe co-create new solutions. So that's what we are very excited about.
That's very, very innovative initiative, I must say. And I think the idea of mobilizing the community and imbibing that idea of co-creation is in itself a very, very innovative idea and a very collaborative approach to newer and innovative things. So I think kudos to the entire organization for that. Coming to the next question, and I think probably if you would have answered in this particular question, that would have made a lot of sense. What is your crazy idea of making this planet greener?
It's actually a very crazy idea, and somebody will say that this guy has gone really crazy. I remember seeing this as a kid, this movie called Star Trek. I don't know, I mean, whether you people have seen it or not. And there, this concept where they would transport a human being, from the spaceship to the location downstairs or wherever, and from there again, at a click of a button, the person would be transported back into the spaceship. And that's how Mr. Spock and his team used to go to various places and do the missions. Imagine, I think, that if we can, develop this technology and we can reach to a place where if I have to move somewhere, I don't necessarily have to board a plane or a train or a bus or whatever. It's a simple click on the palm and I'm transported to my home or whatsoever and back to my office. Imagine the amount of carbon footprint I would be reducing as an individual. Imagine the amount of time saving that it would have. And I'm sure Einstein has already told us E is equal to mc squared. So technically it is possible. Mass and energy are interchangeable. That's what it is. How will it happen? When would it happen? We don't know. But to me, that comes across as a very crazy idea.
Very
And
nice.
so to me, it comes across. The second one, which has been building up on in my mind for quite a number of years now, after going through this book, where they say that the phytoplanktons in the Atlantic Ocean, I don't remember exactly what location, where the phytoplanktons have got the same cells through which they do photosynthesis for themselves. And the same cells are also available in the human eye, through which our rods and cones are able to show us colors and all that. And I was wondering that the day, genetic engineering would kind of tweak my eye cells so that I can go stand outside in the sun. And through photosynthesis kind of a process, I'll get my daily requirement of food or energy or whatever. Then there would be no need to eat something. There would be no need to grow something. So I think, I mean, imagine you and I just go stand outside in the sun for 15 minutes and your battery is
Yes.
charged. So you're good to
Yes.
go.
Solar energy.
Solar energy, more sustainable.
Very sustainable. Yes.
So to me, to these two crazy ideas, seem to be quite exciting, worth
Indeed.
exploring, I must say.
Very, very fascinating, sir. Because yes, so the whole idea of that question is that how far can you think, and probably must, so that you went really, really far, and that is what I liked about it. So coming to the final section of this podcast, and that is the pledging section. So what is that one climate action you pledge to do and you would urge all the other viewers to do as well? Maybe that could be some action that you are already doing, your organization is already doing, and you would like to extend that to the younger audience who will be watching you.
So I would say that, this is something which I've been practicing for several years now. We always talk about, environmental protection and we say reduce, reuse, recycle. But to me, I think reduce is something which we are not adhering to. We are so fascinated to change our phones every 3 years. We want to change our wardrobe as often as possible. We get excited by a new pair of sneakers on the store, the moment we see them. I think somewhere I've tried practicing it over the entire journey so far. Just to give you an example, I have 2 cars in 2 locations. As a necessity, I have to keep 2 of them, one where I'm based and one where my home is. And one of them is 23 years old and one of them is 13 years old.
Wow.
and they are good to go for another 5 to 10 years in any case.
Okay.
I'm so confident of them that I can drive them around at any point of time from
Wow.
point A to point B. So what you have, if you keep it properly, if you can do justice to it, not treat it as a piece of whatever, it could be a phone, it could be a car, it could be your pen. I still keep a fountain pen, of course, because of nostalgic thing also, with which I gave almost all my examinations right from 1983 when I gave my 10th standard board exam, and that fountain pen still works fine, and
Wow.
I
The
still
same
use it.
pen.
Yes.
Oh.
And so what I'm trying to say is, we always say reduce, recycle, reduce, we use these 3 R's quite easily, but we actually don't practice it. So in this world where everything is consumption driven, if we can kind of monitor our consumption and be a little cautious of it, I think that would go a long way.
Correct.
That would certainly go a long way. We as an institution, for example, entire JSW group has discarded plastic.
Wow.
You come to our office, you will not get a plastic bottle. We don't use disposable crockery and all that. Everything is, we just don't use plastic at all.
That's amazing.
And this is besides that, whatever we do for waste management is also focused around plastic waste management in a big way. And we innovatively try co-processing it in our steel plant and the cement plant, which is the most, I would say, eco-friendly way of disposing that plastic. But what I'm trying to emphasize as a personal trait that we can all follow is how we can reduce. Uh, and culturally also, we as a society were always, we were consumer society, but we were not a consumer society with that lens of over consumerism, if I may put it like that. We were never into a denouncement as a culture, but we were also not into a culture of misutilizing that resource that we may have. So I think that's what my belief is, that to the extent possible, uh, we should be able to reduce our consumption to some extent. I think that would take away a lot of pressure off this Mother Earth. The amount of pressure that we put because of our lifestyles, because of our preferences as a consumer, if that can be reduced, that would be simply amazing. And I think it's very easy for each one of us to follow.
Correct, correct. And I think that is one phenomenal advice that you gave to all of us, that instead of focusing on, eliminating bigger things, just focus on the very basics, just focus on reducing your entire overall consumption. You give very beautiful examples that you have two cars. One is, I think, more than 20 years old. The other is more than 10 years old. Then you gave an example of your pen that you've been using for like forever. So I think those are the very basic things that you mentioned about, but at the same time, the kind of impact that they can have, it could be truly amazing. So with this, I come to the conclusion of the podcast. And it was really phenomenal having you with us. And I think the kind of insights I had with you after listening to your stories, it were very rich, it were very precise, and I could see that the kind of direction that you have in leading your organization, in leading the initiatives that you undertake, and I'm just amazed by the clarity that you have. So I think all the viewers will be watching this. This would have been an absolute treat for all of you. And with the thundering round of virtual applause, I would really like to thank Mr. Ashwini Saxena for sparing his time from his busy schedule and devoting this time to all of us. Thank you so much, sir. Let's, through this podcast, together create massive impact. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much. Be your good self. Do good to others. Have a wonderful life. Thank you.
Thank you.